Hello everyone, today I have a really awesome story. It's about three heroes, but in my opinion, they were earth angels. Let's get into it. One day I was with my family and we were at the top of a hill where there is a long stretch of fast food chains, shopping centers, things like that. In the shopping plaza next to where we were shopping, there is a high retaining wall and the building there sets back from the road. It's almost like the beginning of where the hill starts. We call it the hill because it is. It's a big, giant hill that we have to drive up, to get to the top of. So it's not a mountain, it's just a hill. We were kind of like in this little strip plaza, but the building next to that was a single building. It had 2 stories, but it was like accountant's offices in there. There was no shopping in that building. We came out of the shopping building that we were in and we were getting into our car. And we see an older gentleman and he gets into his vehicle. And I don't know what happened here, but instead of putting the car in reverse, he slammed on the gas pedal and he went forward. The car jolted up over the curb and then got stuck halfway hanging off of the retaining wall. So he was literally dangling in midair. Now, what made this so dangerous is the road beneath. 2 lanes each way on this hill. So it's technically like 4 lanes there, 2 coming, 2 going. And here he was dangling off of this ledge, so to speak. And directly underneath is a sidewalk where a lot of people walk. Families walk, people with strollers and babies walk there. Everybody walks on this sidewalk. And this car was dangling over it. The front tires were still spinning. Of course, I jumped out of the car because that's what I always do. I always try to help when I see a situation like this. It gets me in trouble every time. So I'm thinking, oh my goodness, what do? I don't know. This is a new one to me, like what do you do in that situation? I had no idea. I was about to call 911. We all kind of ran over there to make sure the guy was stable and secure and wasn't going to fall off of the side of this. And this posed a danger to everybody. Could you imagine if this car actually fell or flipped? Now you're talking about anybody on the sidewalk and any of the cars coming and going, and the cars coming and going wouldn't even have noticed that there was a car flying off this ledge. They would be like in the unknown here until it happened. And you could just imagine the chaos and mayhem that would erupt from this car falling into the road below, like the 2 lanes each way. It's going to fall somewhere and then maybe flip over on its head. It's just, that's what goes through your mind in this situation. And now you're thinking, how do you tell all the vehicles to stop? What if this car falls and now all these vehicles are coming and going and this guy falls on top of somebody? That's what was going through my mind at the time. I'm thinking about everybody. The man in the car, the people coming on the sidewalk, the cars coming and going. And I was a wreck. I have to say, I was just like, what do? Think fast, call 911. That was my first thought. Thankfully, I was able to, without panicking, I don't know how, somehow, I made it over to the gentleman and I said to him without alarming him, because I didn't want him to like freak out and push the gas pedal again. I said, sir, put your emergency brake up. Now, I don't know if that was the best thing to do, but that was what came to my head at the time, Put your emergency brake up and stop the engine. The car was still running. I figured those 2 things might help. It's not like these situations come with an instruction manual, unless you're trained for this. I'm not. So I was just like, what do I do? I figured those would be a good starting point. I really didn't know. The 911 dispatcher, she was just dispatching everybody. She was like ambulance, police, fire. She wasn't trying to give me any clue on what to do here. So the gentleman seemed to be having a medical issue at the same time. I don't know if he was having a stroke. I don't know if he was having a heart attack. And I'm like, well, I took CPR years ago for a babysitting course. I'm not trained to deal with situations like this. I was at a total loss. Like, I really wanted to help here, but I didn't know if I was actually helping or making it worse. I didn't know. So all I could do at that time was just remain calm. And that was harder than you'll ever know, to remain calm in that situation, because inside I was screaming. I was screaming out loud in my head, like, holy mackerel, this guy is gonna fall to his death and take everybody out with him. And that's all I could think of. And I thought, well, if I remained calm and acted like, hey, it's just a sunny day, nothing to see here, it's all normal, maybe, just maybe, he wouldn't panic. That was the last thing I wanted, for this gentleman to just panic. He didn't even know he was halfway off of this little cliff ledge thing. The height of this little ledge, cliff, whatever you want to call it, retaining wall, was about 10 to 15 feet high, up off of the sidewalk. You can imagine a sidewalk and then this wall up above, and then the car just dangling halfway over it. And he didn't even realize he was hanging over the sidewalk like that. He didn't realize his car was stuck. You know, he thought he was still on the pavement. Like, the whole car was still on the pavement. He had no idea the tires in the front were hanging off of this little cliff thing and spinning. He had no idea. So when I realized that, now fear sets in. Like, oh boy, this is going to get ugly, because he thinks he's still on pavement. I asked if he could put the car in park, because I realized at that moment the car was still in drive. All of these scenarios are running through your head. It seemed like it was an hour, but it was really only like 5-10 minutes, because the fire department was literally right down the road. So the next moment you heard all of the sirens blazing, and you saw the fire trucks coming down the street, screaming down the street. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, a truck appears. Like, just a truck randomly appears. Now, mind you, during this time, there were cars and people still walking down the street, still driving down these, 2 lanes each way, coming and going. And none of them stopped. None of them even looked up. None of them saw the chaos and mayhem that was unfolding right there. That was astonishing to me, that nobody even stopped or saw or, whipped out a camera, started filming. That was really astonishing to me. I mean, it wasn't that long ago, so there were cell phones back then, but I'd say it was in the last decade or so when this happened. The truck stopped and drove into this little parking area. 3 burly guys got out of this truck, like lumberjacks. I've never met a lumberjack before this. I don't know any lumberjacks, but if I had to guess, these guys were lumberjacks. This was not your typical standard bodybuilder. I'm at the gym 4 days a week. I've never seen a guy jacked like this before. The 3 of them were jacked. They came over and they were like laughing about it, but not in a rude way. They were laughing with the situation, not at the situation. They realized it was dire, and the fire truck hadn't got in the parking lot yet. One of the guys got beneath the car. He wasn't even scared. And I'm like, he's down on the sidewalk, like intentionally underneath the car. And the other 2 guys stood on each side of the car. Somehow, I think I passed out at this point. I don't know how. They were able to lift the car, and push it back off of the little ledge cliff thing before the fire department even got there. I just remember people standing over me, asking me if I was okay. And, the man in the car never knew anything different. They took him away in the ambulance to get him checked out. He was just calm as can be. He never thought anything had happened. He just thought some nice people were coming along, to help him on his journey somewhere. He didn't even realize that he was over this little ledge cliff thing. Well, that part worked out, because the worst thing we can do in a situation like that is panic. However, once the shock sits in, as you see in my case, they probably should have called for 2 ambulances, because I was out. I don't recall whatever came of that. I just know I've never seen these lumberjack guys again. I've never seen their truck again. It was almost like they came out of nowhere at the perfect timing to help everybody and then just disappeared. Now, I know that's probably just a coincidence, but it does make you think. You know, were they earth angels? It just does make you think, who were these guys? Most often today, people don't stop in help. They whip their cell phone out and they record it and they post it online. But they don't actually help. They don't get their hands dirty. They don't lift a car. They don't do things like that. They wait for the fire department. They wait for the medical help. They wait for the police. But these guys took action right away. I don't know if they were actually lumberjacks. That's what they look like to me. We don't have logging communities around here. We do, like, maybe 4 hours away, but not directly right here. So maybe they were on their way through on a vacation, or maybe they were going to another job. I don't know. In this case, the help came instantly. It's a miracle. It's a miracle this guy didn't panic. It's a miracle I didn't panic. It's a miracle I was able to help him remain calm. That's not my specialty. I'm not somebody that remains calm. So how I was able to help was just, I'm truly grateful for that. But more importantly, think about the consequences of this car crashing down on a sidewalk into a multi-lane road. And the speed limit, I want to say, is about 30 miles an hour here. So it's not like everybody was going super slow either and could have stopped in time if a car came crashing out of the sky. So I'm just grateful that everybody was okay. I'm grateful for these true earth angel heroes that stopped in the nick of time to help this man. Thank you so much for watching today. Take care.